Welcome to Infidelity Nest. In today's video, I'm about to tell you a story that begins on an ordinary evening, the kind of evening that feels routine until it quietly becomes the moment that changes everything. It had been one of those weeks that felt endless, the kind where every minute bleeds into the next and your mind won't stop running, no matter how much you want it to. Work deadlines, calls, errands, bills, life's constant hum pressing in from all directions. By Friday, I was running on fumes. My name's Rachel, and all I wanted that night was silence. Just a few hours where the world could wait. But in our home, Friday nights had always belonged to something sacred. Movie night. It was a small tradition my son Ethan and I had guarded ever since his dad David passed away 3 years ago. No matter how messy the week got, no matter how tired I was, Friday meant popcorn, a blanket, and the two of us getting lost in someone else's story for a while. It was more than just a movie. It was our way of keeping a piece of David alive. The laughter, the togetherness, the quiet moments that didn't need words. That evening, as I pushed open the front door, the familiar smell of buttery popcorn reached me before anything else. It made me smile, that simple, nostalgic scent filling every corner of the room. Ethan was already on the couch, legs sprawled, hoodie half over his head, remote in hand. "Perfect timing, Mom," he said with a grin that looked so much like his father's. "You made it just before the previews." The TV glowed with that red Netflix logo, and for a moment, all the exhaustion melted away. "What are we watching tonight?" I asked. "Something that'll make you think," he replied, his eyes sparkling with that teasing, knowing look. "You'll love it. Twists, secrets, all that stuff you pretend not to like." I laughed, settling in beside him. He wasn't wrong. I did love it. I just loved pretending I didn't, because that was part of our game. Ethan had his father's humor. Sharp, dry, and perfectly timed. And my eyes, those gray eyes that always carried too many thoughts at once. Since David's passing, he had grown quieter, more introspective. He didn't talk about his dad much, but sometimes I'd catch him glancing at old photos or pausing at a memory mid-laugh. He'd say nothing, but I could feel what he didn't. Halfway through the movie, a storm rolled in. It began with soft rain tapping the windows, then a low growl of thunder that shook the silence between scenes. The movie flickered, once, twice, and then everything went dark. The TV, the lamps, the hum of the fridge, all gone. I sighed. "Really?" Ethan chuckled. "Guess the house needed a break, too." "You think everything's a joke," I teased. "It keeps me sane," he replied. I found my phone and switched on the flashlight. "Want me to check the fuse box?" he offered lazily. "Nah," I said. "Let's wait it out. It'll come back soon." So we sat there, wrapped in blankets, the room lit only by the soft white glow of my phone and the rain outside playing its quiet rhythm. At first we said nothing. There's a strange kind of peace that comes in moments like that, when all the noise of the world is stripped away. Then slowly, conversation began to fill the silence. School stories, friends, his teachers, that one math problem he swore was written just to torture him. We laughed, but then something shifted. His tone softened. "Mom," he said, eyes fixed on the window. "It's weird not having Dad around for stuff. Like, I don't know, learning to drive, graduation's next year, even fixing this stupid lawnmower." I felt the air in the room change, heavy, fragile. "I know," I whispered. "He'd be right there if he could." He was quiet for a long time. The rain grew heavier. Then he asked softly, "Do you think he'd be proud of me?" That question hit deeper than I expected. My heart clenched. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, reaching over to squeeze his hand. "He'd be so proud. Every single day. You have no idea how much he loved you." For a moment, he looked at me. Really looked. And I could see the little boy he once was. The one who used to crawl into my bed after bad dreams and whisper, "Mom, stay." I smiled faintly. "He'd be proud, Ethan, I promise." The lights flickered back on, just as quietly as they'd gone out. The TV resumed the movie right where it had paused, but I wasn't watching anymore. Something had shifted inside me, an ache, a reminder of everything left unsaid. On the screen, the main character, a teenage boy, had just discovered he was adopted. The story spiraled into hidden truths in old letters. I noticed Ethan go still beside me. His eyes stayed on the screen, but his jaw tightened. After a minute, he pressed pause. The sudden silence felt louder than thunder. "Mom," he said, voice steady but strange. "Can I ask you something?" My stomach twisted. "Of course." He looked at me, not angry but searching. "Have you ever kept something from me?" My heart skipped. Of all the questions I expected, that wasn't one. It felt like a key turning in a lock I'd sealed years ago. "What do you mean?" I asked carefully. He hesitated. "I found something last week. In the attic." I could barely breathe. "What did you find?" His eyes didn't leave mine. "Old letters. From someone named Michael. They were written to you. And they mentioned me." The world seemed to stop. The name alone, Michael, was like hearing an echo from a life I'd buried long ago. I sat frozen, hands trembling. "Ethan," I whispered. "I was going to tell you one day. I just didn't know how." His voice cracked slightly. "Tell me what?" I took a long breath, the kind that feels heavier than air. I looked into his gray eyes. Not mine by blood, but mine by love. "You're adopted," I said softly. "But not in the way you think," he blinked, confusion rippling through his expression. "So, you're not my mom?" My eyes stung. "I am," I said quickly. "Not by blood, but by choice, by every heartbeat that's ever loved you." I told him the truth, the one I'd carried in silence for 16 years. "You were left at a hospital when you were just a few hours old," I said, my voice trembling. "I was volunteering there that day, and when I saw you, I don't know what came over me. I just held you, and something in me whispered, 'Don't let go.'" Ethan stared at me, eyes wet, lips parted. "Did Dad know?" "Yes," I said, nodding. "He knew from the start. We both signed every paper together. We both chose you." He looked down, breathing unsteady. Behind us, the movie kept playing quietly, its haunting soundtrack filling the silence between us. Finally he asked, "And my real parents?" I swallowed hard. "The letters you found, they were from your biological father. His name was Michael." Ethan's eyes flickered. "He left them for you, along with a small wooden box of keepsakes." I stood, walked to a drawer near the couch, and pulled it out. The box I hadn't opened in 16 years. I placed it in his hands. It was worn, the edges faded from time. "I kept it," I said softly, "in case one day you wanted to know." Ethan opened it slowly. Inside were several letters, a silver bracelet, and an old photograph. A young man in a faded army uniform holding a newborn baby. Ethan traced the edge of the picture. "That's him?" he asked. "That's Michael," I said quietly. "And that baby is you." Ethan's voice broke. "He looks like me," I nodded. "Yes, and there's something you should know. He didn't leave you by choice, Ethan." I paused, trying to steady my voice. "He died a week after you were born. He was only 22. He had no family left, no parents, no siblings. But he left those letters for you, hoping someone kind would find you, hoping you'd have the life he couldn't give." Ethan's tears fell silently. I reached out and pulled him close. For the first time in years, he didn't resist. He just let me hold him, the way I used to when he was little, and nightmares were still monsters that could be chased away. Hours passed unnoticed. The rain softened, the credits rolled, and the house felt impossibly still. Later that night, he came to my room, holding the wooden box. "Mom," he whispered, "can we read them together?" I nodded, patting the bed beside me. "Of course." We sat cross-legged, surrounded by pillows and half-empty bowls of popcorn. The night outside had grown quiet, but inside, it felt like something sacred was unfolding. Ethan unfolded the first letter. The handwriting was uneven, the ink slightly faded. Michael's words spilled across the page, full of love, fear, and hope. Some letters were short, small fragments of a young man's heart. Others were longer, dreams for a child he'd never get to raise. One read, "If someone finds my boy, tell him I loved him more than I loved my own life. I hope he grows up kind. I hope he laughs like his mother." Ethan's eyes glistened as he read, his voice trembling. "Did you know her?" he asked softly. "My real mom?" I shook my head. "She didn't make it through childbirth," I said quietly. I never met her, Ethan. But from what Michael wrote, she sounded brave. As dawn crept through the curtains, Ethan folded the last letter carefully and placed it back in the box. He turned to me, eyes red but calm. "Thank you," he whispered, "for choosing me." Tears slipped down my cheeks. "No," I said softly. "Thank you for making me a mother." The next morning, we packed a small bag and drove out of town. Michael had written in one of his letters about a small cemetery near his childhood home. The road was lined with tall oaks and autumn leaves scattered like golden whispers on the pavement. Neither of us spoke much. There was peace in the silence, a quiet understanding that words couldn't reach. When we arrived, Ethan carried a single white lily. His choice. The grave was simple, marked only by Michael's name and 2 short lines carved into stone. He lived with love. He left with hope. Ethan knelt, Placey.